Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag ReSynced on the Steam Deck. Thanks to Ubisoft for providing a code of the game, but it's actually verified, believe it or not. I don't have the Steam version, I have the Ubisoft Connect version, but when you launch the game on Steam, it opens Ubisoft Connect, so it's kind of the same thing. AC Black Flag ReSynced. It's hard not to say 4 after saying Assassin's Creed, but things that I did before launching the game, I made sure that there's no overlay. Sometimes it bugs out, so the overlay is disabled. It's kind of annoying. 800p by default. I'm just turning off VSync. FPS limit. Okay, frame rate target with dynamic resolution. Okay, so we got dynamic res already on, targeting 30 FPS. I can modify this. In shadows, I couldn't actually do this, so that's good to see. I don't know what they mean by automatic upscaler type. And you can, okay, move the dynamic resolution. It goes from 20% to 100%, but I think this scale is not per axis. It's probably the total amount of pixels being 20%. So this is probably like quality, no. This is like performance to balanced upscaling, that's my guess. Ray tracing mode standard. So it already has ray tracing. LMAO, why? I don't know. But ray tracing is on by default. Preset handheld low, handheld medium, handheld high. Okay. Ultra low, very low. It has a lot of freaking presets. What the hell? This is awesome. Okay. I like what I'm seeing so far. Character quality, ultra low, very low, low. Okay, this is awesome so far. Hair strands, Post effects, very low. Everything on the lowest, basically. Ultra freaking low. That's okay. I don't mind. I do a quick swipe. You get indirect lighting, definitely. Is it worth the performance hit? I don't know. But the resolution seems higher. Yeah, the resolution is definitely higher without ray tracing. I know I'm pixel peeping, but it's the best way to check that. Without ray tracing, with ray tracing, yeah, the resolution is a bit lower. Quite a bit lower, actually. But you can see, like, the smaller objects. Actually, the smaller objects here look better without ray tracing. But you get more in-depth lighting. This stuff is shaded. I wouldn't use it by default, though. It probably affects the CPU. And the GPU, the CPU especially, and the GPU quite a bit. But it's there. Would you guys use it? Also the materials for the glass. The glass has some translucency. Jeez. Yeah, on the Switch 2, I mean, this is why I thank Nintendo for the Switch 2. It makes developers focus being able to make a lower setting so we can play it on Steam Deck as well. That's good. And hardware being more expensive is kind of a blessing in disguise, at least in my opinion. More expensive, I mean less. Not being able to upgrade pretty often forces them to actually make it run properly, I guess. Although shadows run better than I expected.
We could work together on
Here,
this.
standing here in the original, yeah, here I can see the resolution drops a lot. And the shadow draw distance is pretty poor. In the original, you were baffled by this guy. An assassin, how easily Edward killed him. Well, suspension of disbelief. It's a bit silent, yeah. I just increase the volume.
Hola, ladies.
You don't know these women, do you?
No, they charge money for that kind of privilege. Few dozen reals for every hour of knowing. Keen to meet them.
No, goodness no, I'm a married man.
Married men are their forte, mate.
I should acquire a blade for myself, Duncan. Just
Yeah, the
as you
CPU
have. Perhaps a
cries
small
in
dagger would
pain
suit me.
in this part.
Oh, we'll be quite the pair, you and I. Twin devils.
Maybe I'll buy a sword too, and we'll both jump
Ray
rank.
tracing is on right now? Yeah. But for
Minus a few
global
reals,
illumination, I can
I
see
did save
some
you skin.
indirect lighting.
Ah,
Alright, let's take another look at the settings now in handheld mode. 800p, FPS limit to 30, dynamic resolution on, automatic upscaler, it seems to be TAA, minimum of 25% resolution, now maximum of 50%, resolution scale at 100, otherwise it doesn't scale correctly. Frame gen off, I showed you that in the stream, you can find it in the pinned comment. On scalability, we're obviously turning off ray tracing, and we're using almost the lowest settings. A couple things are on very low and low, but after playing the game longer to different areas, I noticed that going to the low mid setting was way too much for the Steam Deck. Alright, so the main thing that made me lower the maximum resolution a little bit and the settings from very low, low, and some stuff on medium to the absolute lowest is actually nighttime and rain. Now it stopped raining in the game, but when it was raining, it was dropping into the mid-20s. That combined with nighttime, that there's also the moonlight casting shadows, you get a very difficult situation. Daytime is way easier, there's even less specularity on the materials. So especially that running on the city at the same time. This is Nassau. Sorry, this is Havana, it's not Nassau. And there's a bug. In that other city that there's more vegetation and stuff, it's the pirate heaven, to say it in some way. On that one, I did have problems maintaining 30s. In Havana, it's easier on daytime, obviously. But, yeah, I still highly recommend you use these settings. Yeah, you get worse raw distance, you get worse shadows, but the shadows are still there. They're still pretty decent resolution. And honestly, I don't think it looks bad one bit, even at nighttime. At nighttime, I'm surprised there's even shadows to begin with. Let's go to the Pirate's Heaven, to say it in some way. I'll just go here. I'll just go here to the fast travel point. Loading times are actually pretty quick. Although, again, the CPU usage spikes significantly when it's loading something, especially for the first time, but that's to be expected. So, let's see. Okay, there you go, spike in the CPU, but it took less than 30 seconds. So I'd say that's pretty quick. And this other place is another city, but there's more foliage on it, or more pirates. And it makes it more GPU intensive than Havana. Havana is more CPU intensive than Nassau. There's less NPCs as well, but again, it's pretty demanding in general. Also, the terrain is deformable with the sand. I'm not sure if in every surface of sand that happens, but we're on the low setting. It still has some terrain deformation. But as you can see, it drops further than Havana despite having less NPCs, but again, more foliage. That kills the GPU way more. That's also why I couldn't really crank up the textures. And when it comes to battery life, it's basically 2 hours on the deck OLED, maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes if you have a new unit. On the LCD Steam Deck, just probably 90 minutes, 1.5 hours. That's my guess. Is to put this on ultra low. Worse draw distance, but it'll help on the CPU situation. Again, not perfect, it's a sacrifice, but again, we're playing a new Assassin's Creed game on a Steam Deck that came out a while ago. So again, portable needs sacrifices, unfortunately. And that improves things quite a bit, actually. Especially in a bigger map like this one. But still, it's not perfect. Here we go, some combat now. Yeah, definitely, if you disable the FPS lock inside the game and you just keep the dynamic resolution, it will be way better for the frame time's sake. Oops, out of ammo. I keep forgetting how to block. But again, it's decent enough, in my opinion. I wouldn't call it verified, because by default the settings are garbage. Especially having ray tracing on, I think that's pretty stupid. But there we go. We're actually into the thick of it. It can get way worse later on, obviously. Way bigger ships, way more characters on your ship and the enemy ship. And when it comes to attacks, you have a bigger inventory, to say it in some way. Okay, good. We looted them. And we exploded. Oops! Okay, now coming back after dying. Here's us boarding that ship. Which again is more complex than just navigating around. It has more effects as well, more enemies. But again, for the CPU, this is a cakewalk in comparison to one of those towns that we looked at a moment ago. It's just not even close to what the towns have to offer. But I wanted to test this because you guys always ask about it, even in the original, when I was playing the original game, for the benchmarks. I remember that you guys asked always about ship combat. So yeah, despite the amount of enemies and the effects on screen, the Steam Deck is taking it just fine. So would I recommend Assassin's Creed Black Flag ReSynced on Steam Deck? I wouldn't call it verified because the default settings are not good in my opinion. Cities really suffer significantly when it comes to resolution and performance, obviously. Way more complex, that's why we had to sacrifice the settings a lot in order to get a decent experience. And that's the keyword, decent. It's playable. Of course you can also play the original, which doesn't look like this. It has a higher resolution and, well, the graphics from the PS3 era. More towards the PS4 era, actually. The PS4 port. But the game is from that era. Before Assassin's Creed Unity. Before they made the jump to the current engine, to say it in some way. So both are good options. I'd say if you want a higher resolution, play the original, but the visuals are going to be worse. Obviously, it's an older game. This is completely rebuilt using the newest technology they have, which surprisingly runs better than Assassin's Creed Shadows, somehow. Probably because the map is smaller in general. But there's now no loading times between areas, so that's a big plus. Fast travel is way quicker. And ship combat seems to be expanded in comparison to the original. So yeah, I would recommend it, but I'll temper my expectations. Resolution is decent enough, visuals are decent enough. I mean, how the hell is this ultra low to very low? Your guess is as good as mine. But still, I think that's worth mentioning. It's not a miracle, but it works pretty well, considering we're playing this on a Steam Deck. Just Ubisoft and Valve, well, Ubisoft, it's not Valve's fault, should put better settings by default. Having ray tracing on by default, I think, is a disservice to the Steam Deck. We have baked lighting that looks good enough. And yeah, the dynamic resolution by itself already works pretty well. So I'll just, again, increase the settings a tiny bit to have those reflections. Because here, otherwise, it wouldn't be any. And better ambient occlusion. But then when it comes to resolution, I'll just turn off ray tracing. And that's about it. Increase that to have reflections. And drop ray tracing for better performance. It increases performance significantly, especially in towns and on nighttime, having ray tracing off. Why would it be on? Your guess is as good as mine. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did revisiting this classic game with better graphics. And I'll see ya next time. Bye guys!